My grandma Pat Moorbacher grew up in the 1950s in a small town in North Dakota. She was the oldest of 7 children and raised a Christian. This is a picture of her mother a couple years ago, who was a school teacher at the local K-12 schoolhouse. My grandma attended that school most of her life until high school, and then she was sent to a boarding school called Dakota Lutheran Academy so that she could get a better education. The farm work was rough while supplies were being demanded across the nation. This is a picture of the farm she grew up on. Even with a good education, my grandma assumed someday she would return to the farm anyways to maintain the facilities. Education for her family had high standards for success, and although her graduating class consisted of a total of 13 students, she was still pretty exposed to many cultural 50s styles. Seeing she was a cheerleader, my grandma often wore the popular poodle skirts and loafers, while noticing the hairdos called the ducktail, often worn by men. Yet the country life of North Dakota did influence most of the clothing they all wore to be handmade and perfectly ironed daily, while school dances were prohibited. According to my grandma, the hip artists growing up were mostly Elvis and Conway Twitty. And although her TV-less house had constant Western folk like Sons of Pioneers or Tumbling Tumbleweed playing on the radio, she claims to have often watched Dragonette, Lawrence Welk, and Oral Roberts at the TV at her boarding school. Economically, North Dakota wasn't exactly known for its expensive diamonds or exorbitant cars. My grandma recalls sharing many meals with her siblings simply because that's all they could afford. My grandma reminisces about the tiny family car they owned called a Studebaker. No seatbelts, and everyone except the driver had to share a seat on top of a sibling on the way to church. She recalled feeling ashamed because all her friends owned a shiny red Ford or Chrysler, so she'd spend every Saturday afternoon rewashing and waxing their old black vehicle. Politically, my grandma's father actually worked for the North Dakota legislature, and he was a Democratic treasurer for the state. Her family voted for Richard Nixon in the election after enjoying his speeches and debates over the radio. Kennedy was well known for his on-camera charisma, which later enhanced a strong liking for him in the election, and even resulted in making my grandma's family eventually like him, his presidency, and his family. Ironically, my grandma laughed at the idea of ever needing a bomb shelter. She claimed Russian invasions were considered a joke for the small-town North Dakotans, and said it was never really a worry for her or her family. Of course, while North Dakota was at ease with any Soviet offense, the rest of the country was suffering through great turmoil and fear of a Russian attack. One fact that really surprised me was the mention that my grandma never saw a single black person until her late 20s at a college in Minnesota. Things like the civil rights movement and integration were just gossip over the radio. This was mostly because a huge population of African Americans lived in the South, where segregated schools and black communities took up the majority of Southern life. So overall, for Pat Moorbacher in the 50s, it was probably way different than what most teenagers growing up in large East Coast cities experienced, because of where she lived. But certain styles and political interests still helped teach me what it was really like to live in the decade of conformity.
Kicking your can all over the place, singing, We will, we